What is going on, everyone? We are back in Madden 17, and today we're doing something a little bit different. We're taking a break from the Bears franchise in the QB career to have a little bit of fun. The playoffs begin tomorrow, so I thought, why not put my predictions out there of how I think the playoffs are going to go. Now, I'm going to only go in depth through the wildcard round. I'm still going to give my predictions for the entire playoffs, but each week I will release a new video predicting in depth the weekend's games because I'm assuming I'm going to get some of these wrong. So instead of just going all in one go through the whole thing, we'll have an opportunity to stop and look back at the prior weekend and then look ahead to the weekend's next game. So first up, we're starting off with maybe the hardest one to predict. Raiders and Texans. And this one should have been easier. You can see the overall is 89-77, so Madden says the Raiders have a clear edge, but the Raiders lost their starting quarterback, Derek Carr, and you could see in Week 17 the Raiders were an entirely different team. So the Raiders for the year had the 6th best offense in yards, 7th best offense in points. So they were very, very good, but on defense, they are just the 26th ranked defense in terms of yards. Now the Texans, on the other hand, are the 1st ranked team. They did very, very well on defense. So what I'm thinking here, because the Texans are playing at home and because their defense is so good, I feel like that's just going to end up playing out and is going to be the difference in this game. Connor Cook making his first career start in the playoffs. Connor Cook isn't horrible. I'm actually a Michigan State fan, so I have seen a lot of Connor Cook over the last 3 years. He's a good quarterback, but this is an entirely different level. This is not even remotely close to college football. He's in the NFL. He's in the playoffs. And I just think watching him in Week 17, he looked okay, not great. I just think it's going to catch up with them. The Texans defense are going to be putting a lot of pressure on them. The Raiders do have a trio of pretty good running backs, which I'm sure they will rely on, but I feel like it'll be much easier for the Texans to stop the running game and still not really have to worry about Cook making a lot of big throws. So I feel like, now if Derek Carr was the quarterback here, it's so easy to call the Raiders winning this game. The Raiders wouldn't even probably be here. They probably would have won in Week 17, and they would have earned the first round bye. But with them being here, with Connor Cook as their starting quarterback, as bad as the Texans offense is, they were the 29th ranked offense. As bad as that is, I just feel like this is going to be one of the weird games where neither team is very good, and I'm going to give the edge to the home team and the better defense, and that is going to be the Texans. But I'm saying it's going to be a close game. Now, next up is going to be Lions at Seahawks, and you can see the edge goes to the Seahawks here in Madden 17. And honestly, I got to give the edge to the Seahawks in this game as well. The Lions, I feel, overachieved greatly this season. I never thought they would do as well as they did this year. And honestly, they easily could have gone 4-12 or 3-13 because they had so many close games. Really, the Lions owe their success to that man, Matthew Stafford. He absolutely carried the Lions offense on his back this season. The Lions dealt with a lot of injuries this year. They have the 21st ranked offense, the 18th ranked defense, which I was surprised to see their defense that good, but the Lions have been awful the last 3 weeks of the season. They are limping into the playoffs here, and I think it's going to be hard for them to win a game in Seattle against a Seattle team that has picked it up as of late. They ended up with the 5th ranked defense, the 12th ranked offense, which really has come together in the last few weeks of the season. This was a team that really struggled early on, but really have come together here in these last few weeks. And I mean, honestly, I don't think this game is going to be close. I feel like the Seahawks are going to win by at least 3 touchdowns. I just don't think it's possible for the Lions to win in Seattle. Now, if this was a home game for the Lions, I would maybe give them an outside shot, but Seattle is such a hard place to play. And then you combine that with Russell Wilson, this Seahawks team, which they've been here before. They know how the playoffs work. The Lions have not. Stafford has only been to the playoffs twice in his career, and neither game went very well. So while big congrats to the Lions for making the playoffs, but I think their road in the playoffs is going to end very quickly, and I'm going to give Seattle the win easy in this game. Now, next up, moving to the AFC, it is Dolphins at Steelers, and this one on paper here in Madden seems like a close game, and it might be a close game, but I really don't think so. The Dolphins, I'm actually surprised. At about Week 15, I couldn't believe the Dolphins were in the spot for a wild card. And especially now with the injury to Ryan Tannehill, I really don't think the Dolphins have a solid shot in this game. They have the 24th ranked offense this year, 29th ranked defense. That's in terms of yards. They're 18th in points, but I was actually surprised to see their defense ranked so low because you would think they'd have a pretty good defense. Their front four is pretty good. They got Ndamukong Suh, Cameron Wake, very good defensive line, but the rest of the defense obviously not that strong. Now they do have Jay Ajayi, who obviously if they can rely on him and if he can have some success, he can do some damage against this Steelers team because I don't think they're as good against the run. But the Steelers have the 12th ranked defense this year, but it's the offense that really separates them. The 7th best offense in the league this year, and it's the trio of Roethlisberger, Brown, and Bell that I think can carry this team possibly deep into the playoffs. Now, this game could be a weird one where it ends up being close. There's been times in this season where the Steelers looked like they didn't really care too much and they played really bad, but I feel like in the playoffs here, they're going to have the focus narrowed down. They're going to be giving it their all. They got a great offense, a surprisingly good defense, and against an average team, honestly, average offense, average defense for the Dolphins, and especially there's been the confirmation that Ryan Tannehill will not be playing, so Matt Moore, I believe his first career playoff start, just is not going to have the experience. The team just isn't going to be able to bring enough to the table to take down the Steelers, so I'm giving them the win. Now, final game of Wild Card Weekend, it's Giants at Packers, and on paper, the Giants look to have a pretty good edge, which, honestly, if you look through the Packers team, you would kind of agree, especially in comparison to the Giants in their defense. But this one, I'm just going to say two things. Lambeau Field and Aaron Rodgers. I don't know how you bet against those two. Very, very hard to win a playoff game in Lambeau in January. So I'm going to say, now the Giants definitely have the best opportunity to win here in terms of the road teams in Wild Card Weekend. They have a very good defense. Very, very good defense. 10th best defense in terms of yards. 2nd best defense in terms of scoring. So the defense much improved. I think they were near the bottom of the list last year in defense. So a much improved defense. But the offense, that is where the big weakness is, and it's the offense, and it's Eli Manning specifically. They had the 25th best offense in the league this year, and Eli Manning, I mean, for a guy that's won 2 Super Bowls, he's not a great quarterback, and I think that is ultimately, especially with the run game, which it's still probably better than the Packers running game, but the comparison of Eli to Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers, he can absolutely put a team on his back. He can carry a team to win. He's pretty much done that the last 6 weeks of the season for the Packers. They had the 8th best offense in the league, 22nd ranked defense, but still ultimately, I got to give the edge to this one to the Packers, to Aaron Rodgers. As good as the Giants defense is, I think Rodgers finds a way to crack the code on that Giants defense, and I don't think Eli can do enough in Lambeau to help the Giants beat the Packers. So I'm going Packers over the Giants for the final game of Wild Card Weekend. Okay, now, as I said, I'm going to go through the remainder of the playoffs just kind of briefly just to give you my full predictions to see later on if I turn out to be right. But the next matchup here in the divisional round, it's going to be Seahawks traveling to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. And for Atlanta, they had the best offense in the league, scoring and yards. So can an amazing offense do enough to make up for an okay kind of meh defense? Did the 25th ranked defense. Now the Seahawks, on the other hand, have a good defense, but with this game being in Atlanta, inside, I think it does even things out a little bit. If this game was in Seattle, I would go Seahawks immediately, but I think the Falcons do definitely have a good shot in this one, but ultimately, again, I'm just going back to good defense and the experience in the playoffs in the Seahawks in the last few years. No one has probably more experience than Russell Wilson and the Seahawks team, so I'm going to go with a bit of an upset here. I'm going to say the Seahawks take out the Falcons in Atlanta. Now, I wouldn't be surprised to see Atlanta win, but I just don't think their defense is going to be able to do enough, and the offense do enough against the Seahawks defense to get the win. Now, other side of the NFC, it's going to be Packers at the Cowboys, and boy, if this ends up being the matchup, this is going to be a good game. But there's one key thing here. Dallas does not have to leave the state of Texas for the entire playoffs. So they get a very, very key home game here. They avoid having to play in Lambeau. But can the two rookies, the features of this offense, Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, can they continue to play the way they have played all year and help the Cowboys get a win? Now, the thing here you got to look at, the Cowboys actually good on both sides of the ball. They have the 14th ranked defense in terms of yards, 5th in points. So the defense is good. The offense is ranked 5th in both sides, yards and points. So they have this is a very, very good team. The Cowboys, not the easiest path to the playoffs in comparison to something like the Patriots, but still, I think that with how good this team has been, I've watched them a couple times, a couple of their games, and they are very good. So I think with some of the issues the Packers have had on defense this year, and with a good Dallas defense, if they can shut down Rodgers, it does make it a little bit easier. And the fact that they're playing at home, I think gives the Cowboys the edge, and I'm having them move on to the NFC Championship. Next up is the AFC, and first up it's going to be the Texans at the Patriots, and this one is going to be quick and easy. There is no way the Texans will beat the Patriots. Now, if they do, I will be incredibly surprised, but this is two totally different levels in terms of talent of teams. Patriots, 4th best offense, 8th best defense. The Texans simply have no chance in this one at home. New England will handle this one easily and move on to the AFC Championship. Other game here is going to be Steelers at the Chiefs. Now, this one I think could be a very, very close game. The Chiefs in Kansas City, always very good at home. The defense is okay. The offense is okay as well. They're both middle of the pack in terms of offense and defense. There's nothing really about the Chiefs that totally scares you except for Tyreek Hill, but I think one guy is somewhat easy to shut down. The real question here is if the Steelers' offense can keep up their good play. The defense, I think, will be there, but can Ben Roethlisberger continue to play well? I think if they play well last week in the wild card weekend against the Dolphins, I think they carry that momentum into Kansas City, and I think the Steelers will beat Kansas City and move on to the AFC Championship game against the Patriots. Which, speaking of that AFC Championship, here is your matchup, Steelers and Patriots. You see the Patriots have the edge in terms of Madden's rankings. Now, I think if there's any team in the AFC that could take down the Patriots, I think it is the Pittsburgh Steelers. But the real edge I think that the Patriots have here is that they're playing at home. They have Tom Brady, and they have one of the better defenses in the league. So I think even though as much as I would like to call Steelers here, I'm going to play it a little bit safe, and I'm going to say the Patriots are going to beat the Steelers to advance to the Super Bowl. And then in the NFC, it's going to be Seahawks and Cowboys. Didn't expect to see the Seahawks here in the NFC Championship, especially after seeing them play earlier in the season, but they have been playing better, but ultimately, I just don't think there's a team in the NFC that matches up to the Cowboys, except for maybe the Giants, who beat them twice this year, but I don't think they make it this far. So Seahawks, Cowboys, I got to go Cowboys in this one. I think the rookies, even though they're rookies, I think they still continue to play well, and I'm going to say the Cowboys move on to the Super Bowl to face off against the Patriots. This would really be a battle of two titans, the two best teams in their respective conferences. And this is where it gets pretty hard to predict a winner, because I think it could really go either way. I think the Cowboys could win. I think the Patriots could win. Tom Brady, Tom Brady, he is so good in the Super Bowl. The Cowboys, there's just something about this Cowboys team this year featuring two very young players in their offense, prominently featuring two young players in their offense, that maybe I'm just rooting for it a little bit to see them do well. Their offensive line is phenomenal, best offensive line in the league. Defense is pretty good. If they can maybe cause some turnovers, they can ride their very good offense, I think, to a win. And again, another thing, they're not necessarily playing a home game, but they're going to be in Texas. The Super Bowl is in Houston this year, so there's going to be a lot of Cowboys fans at that game, so they can maybe kind of ride the crowd a little bit, but I think ultimately it is Cowboys over Patriots in the Super Bowl. So we'll see how everything turns out. We'll be back next week. We'll look back at my predictions. We'll see what I was right on, what I was wrong on, and then we'll take a look ahead at the divisional round matchup. So if you enjoy this sort of thing, let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe to see any future videos that I make. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.